Hey guys, welcome back for another exciting episode of Yomo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast, and today we have Reflection 360. And I guess the book I'll let Chris tell you because I think this book I'm not familiar with.
Well, I mean, this is an easy book to know what it's about. It's called The Storyteller: Tales of Life and Music by Dave Grohl. So you know who Dave Grohl is, right?
I don't. That's why I said this is
Uh,
not a book that probably a book and off, you know, beaten path for me.
it's a memoir
He's a musician, some sort of.
he's a musician. So he was the he's had an incredible career. He was most well known. Well, no, actually, that's not true. He was originally known, which is actually the wildest thing about Dave Grohl's life, is he was originally the drummer of Nirvana, right? So Nirvana was Kurt Cobain and Dave Grohl was the drummer, and then I forget who the bass guy was or whatever. But yeah, he was the drummer in Nirvana. You know Nirvana, right? Like,
Nope.
what the fuck, True? Are you kidding me?
I'm uncultured.
Um, Nirvana was the biggest band in the world from like probably 1992 to like
Yeah, it's not a
1994.
beaver must damn activities for me. I mean, I have one of those things where I like have a almost two left foot of
Fair
sort.
enough.
As far as music is concerned, I'm
First
like
music?
when these kind of thing is really over my head.
Wow. Well, I mean, like the fact that you've never even heard it. I mean, that's like you never hearing of like Aerosmith or like the Beatles almost, you know? I mean, you know who those are, right?
I know the beat is from the news, but not from not from the music itself.
Like, do you know who like Led Zeppelin is or
I heard of him, don't know him. I
well,
heard
it's
of
a band.
him.
It's a band. It's a band.
Yeah,
The
I see exactly.
good Lord. Oh my God. All right. So I'm not saying like I'm big fans of these bands necessarily. They're just incredibly um
It's like I know Taylor Swift, but I have no idea what Taylor. I mean, the
Taylor,
thing is,
Taylor Swift is the furthest thing from Nirvana that you could possibly be. Oh
but
my
like I
God.
said, I know of Taylor Swift because of other news he's on, and you cannot help but like getting smashed by people with Taylor Swift this, Taylor Swift that, right? For me, it's like
Ta-
I know
Taylor,
of some of these things, but have no idea what it is.
Taylor Swift is a
It's
pop
like you turn on the
country
radio and,
singer.
and you and you can't you can't help but have her music blast, you know, across your face, and
All
you
right,
have to know.
name me a rock band that you know, or any rock bands that you know.
Rascal Flats.
That's not a rock band. That's a country band. But yeah, that's a. I
I
guess
don't
that's a
know.
band. I guess that's a
It's
band.
a band.
I guess that counts
Yeah.
as a band.
My high school marching band and the Texas Aggie marching band. Talking
Oh
about
my
band,
gosh.
I know what band is. What is a rock band?
Rock and roll, man. Rock
I
and
know what
roll.
a rubber band is.
Holy shit. Okay. All right. Well, then I guess I gotta. I didn't think I was gonna have to start with who Dave Grohl is with you. All right. All right. So Nirvana was one of the biggest musical acts in the world from in the early 90s. They there was this I can't believe I'm saying this. There was this movement that they kind of started that was called the Seattle grunge movement, which was like Metallica and all these other random ass bands that came out of Seattle, and it was like grunge. It was like flannel, like when everybody was wearing like flannel and like the real world Seattle, and like everybody was all like it was called grunge music because it was very Gen X angsty, and like we're all gonna die, like the world sucks, like we don't, we're all worthless kind of music. And it was all very very melodramatic and like but like, kind of like a new age rock. So like when you have rock back in like the 60s 70s, whatever, like the Led Zeppelin era, the Beatles, like back in those times, right? Like that was more the kind of the pure rock and roll. and then that bridge during the 80s with these 80s hair bands, where there was like Motley
Hmm.
Crue and Def Leppard and Poison and whatever, and that was like party rock kind of almost, if you will, like hair band, party music, girls, 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 whatever, that kind of really party culture. And then the early 90s, it flipped completely 180. It went from this like party rock star 80s hair band, to like these super serious, like intense, like grunge bands that were like, life's not cool, man. We're gonna make like really like, angsty like music about what it's like real life, man. And they were very
Sounds like you're on acid.
kind of probably, it was probably like what you would have thought of like hippies back in the 60s and 70s, but like translated into like the 1990s Gen
Hmm.
X grunge, it's called grunge music, right? So
Okay.
Nirvana was like the flag bearer of the grunge music era, in like the early 90s. And there was no bigger band in the world. I mean, they were just, you know, huge, massive like band. They came out of nowhere and just took over the world. And Dave Grohl was was the drummer of
Hmm.
the Nirvana. So their lead singer, his name was Kurt Cobain. You ever heard of Kurt Cobain before?
Heard of Kurt Cobain?
Okay,
None,
so
don't know who he is. Just heard of
well, you've
him.
heard of him because he's really famous because he died really, really early on. Kurt Cobain was a heroin addict, and
Mhm.
he I don't know what I feel like it was probably like 1995 maybe. I don't actually know when he died. Hang on a second. Kurt Cobain died in 1994 on April 5th, 1994. So this is like at the height of like Nirvana's like peak, right?
Mhm.
They were the biggest band in the world, and Kurt Cobain was like struggling with really bad addiction to heroin, and he OD'd on heroin. He was really depressed and shitty, and life was sucked. Whatever. He has his own like troubled childhood. Well, Dave Grohl was the drummer of that band, right? So Dave, you would think at that point in time that you've already lived a lifetime of craziness, being nobodies to the biggest band in the world to now your your lead singer, the front facing person of your band dies, and that would be the end of it, right? Well, Dave
Mhm.
Grohl loved music. He's loved music since he was a little kid, and that's his Beaver Must Dam activity. He just loves music, eats, sleeps, and breathes it. And he ended up starting up a new band called the Foo Fighters. Did you ever heard of the Foo Fighters before?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
so Dave Grohl is the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, and then he's also started multiple other bands as well in addition to the Foo Fighters. So he went on to have like a whole nother, second and third act of his career where he spent the next like 20, 25 years as like a rock legend, of like the modern age rock. Like Foo Fighters is his thing. It's not just Nirvana. It wasn't whatever. It was like his own thing. And then he's been very heavily influential in the rock and roll world, since his time in Nirvana, and then his post career after Nirvana and everything. So that's this autobiography is about Dave Grohl's life,
Mm.
and it's called The Storyteller, and it's about him telling stories about his life and music and how he came to love it and learn it and grow. Yeah, so that's it. All right, does that help you of what I'm talking about now? All right.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay, all right, all right. So I cannot believe you've never heard of Nirvana. I mean, that blows my mind. I mean, honestly, like that's like not that's almost on the par of not knowing who like the Beatles are. I mean, the Beatles are way bigger than Nirvana, but like, Nirvana at its peak was probably the same as like the Beatles at their peak, I would think, I mean, they were just like everywhere. They were everything, like, for like they were pop culture and rock and
Right. I
grunge.
mean, when you're a beaver and
Yeah,
you don't really
Jesus.
care.
You were beavering, man. And speaking of beavering, because Dave Grohl is a beaver, so
Yeah.
so this
He
this is this is
beavering in his own world.
this is Kurt Cobain, by the way.
Mhm.
This guy you recognize him at all? By any chance?
No.
All right. So do you know who Dave Grohl is? Here, I'll see if you recognize this guy.
No.
Fair enough. All right. All
Now,
right.
now I heard of him. No, I recognize him now. But
Fair enough. All right. So this book easily the reflection could have been like a Beaver Must Dam with Dave Grohl, because this was like textbook a Beaver Must Dam. He had this like certain way that he heard songs when he was a little kid, and he was like compelled to try to play them and drum them, and and just he couldn't even read music, and he just heard things, and he was able to do it and do it faster, and he like was obsessed with it, and he ended up falling in love with punk music, and then he fell in love with rock music, and then he fell in love with all this, and he's just been playing music. Is his Beaver Mustang. If Dave Grohl is not playing music, the guy will die. Like, I mean, he is obsessed. Like, I mean, this has been his life, and it will be his life until the day that he probably dies, I could easily have written this reflection about Dave's life and Beaver Mustang activities. However,
Mhm.
we're way past that at this point in time of this journey, right? We're on 360. We're 4 away, we're 5 away from the finish line at this point in time of the original marathon. So this reflection is actually about something that Dave said in his journey, that learning about his life, that kind of touched me a little bit, and that was as a father of two, and you're a father of four. I think so. I said this will be a kind of a fun conversation. Dave was a bit of a shithead of a child, and he got in trouble all the time, and he hurt himself all the time doing stupid shit. And his mom was like I can't, if I remember right, I think he said his mom was like a single mom that raised him, and he multiple times he put her through like a whole lot of crap that as a kid you don't really think about, right? When you're a kid, you're just doing what you do, and you're like, oh man, these parents are bringing me down, and they're blah 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 blah. But like as a parent, now, like on the other end of on the other end of the equation, see things differently now, right? I mean, I'm sure you do, as I do, from when you were younger to when you're not now, to when you're now as a parent, right? So one of the things that Dave said in this book was a revelation that he had, where the first time that one of his children got seriously injured, and he realized, and he saw his daughter in like pain and crying, and like really suffering, and he was like, well, shit, like, uh, this is kind of everything, and it really hurts me. And he was like, he called his mom right after this happened, and he was like, it was like he apologized for all the things that he did that caused that he carelessly and recklessly put himself in danger, and injured himself over the course of his life, and put her in that position of being the one that had to be sitting there with his child in pain, and seriously injured, and hurting, and not knowing what to do, and feeling that carelessness, or not carelessness, feeling that helplessness, that you feel when your child's in pain, right? And just wanting to do anything you can to take that away. And he had this revelation of, you're only as happy as your least happy child, right? Like if one of your kids is sad and hurting, then that's the level of happiness you can be at, and you can't leave that until that's not there, and like there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, that's just a fact of being a parent at this point in time. And for me, this quote, and the revelation from him about his life, hit me pretty hard, because I have a really weird and unique situation with my children, because one of them is here and one of them is not here. And for Luca, it's easy to see when he's in pain, right? Like, I mean, it's super easy to see when he's hurting and he's not happy. You can't not see it, right, when they're in front of you, right? With Amelia, it's different for me. I have to really, really, really try hard to connect with her, and understand when she's not happy. And for me, I've come to know that she's not happy when I'm not following my promise that I made to her to follow my values, and to be the person that I said that I wanted to be, and so we can have that time to connect with each other. So whenever I start to deviate from that, or whenever I feel like, tempted to deviate from that, that's when I get that kind of shitty, icky feeling in my stomach, of not holding true to my promises to my daughter, and I feel like that's when she's in pain, and I have to recognize that, I guess, myself, and I have to address that, right? And you can't go forward until you do this stuff, right? Like you just can't move forward unless if one of your children is happy. So like these are the things that we do as parents, and we're happy to do it. But at the same time, like it's true. I mean, I think it is true. You're only as happy as your least happy child. So I'd love to get your thoughts as a father of four, and yeah. What do you think?
Well, it can be further from the truth. I mean, it is it is exactly like you said. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter, right? How many kids are happy as long as one of them is not happy, your focus and attention is on that kid. And
Right.
so, I mean, that's just the way life is. And but I guess that could be, I guess, translate into a group setting as well. I
Yeah.
mean, you talking about like the speed of the army is the slowest, you know, the slowest guy, whatever that guy is. I
Right.
mean, if he's carrying, some baggage or some artillery supplies or whatever, I mean, army can't just go on without him. So same thing with people as well. When you in a certain setting, right? You go with the cadence. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where, but I guess the question I have for you is, what can we learn from this?
I mean, I learned a lot from it personally. I mean, you're. I don't know. There's such an there's such you can't be happy in life if if you can't help the people that matter most to you to be happy in life. I mean, if the people around you aren't like let's just extrapolate this out. Like if you were not happy, like and enjoying these conversations, and your mind was distracted on something else, I don't know that I wouldn't enjoy Yomo, right? Like, I mean, because it wouldn't be fun if you weren't able to do it, with me, right? Like, and at the same time, like, there's nobody more important in your life than your children, so it's like it's hard to find any joy in anything you do if your kids are not happy and healthy, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how else to say it other than like you're you can't move forward unless you have certain baseline foundational elements satisfied, and
Yeah,
like
man,
that,
that's
yeah,
just human nature. I
right,
mean, you are a certain person. You are compelled to do certain activities.
right,
You are given the gene of a parent. You're gonna want to try to do everything you can possibly can think of to alleviate whatever pain or suffering that that kid, it's the value of the connections to that person, it's strong, right? And that means that the stronger that connection, um the more pain you will feel. So you think about, like, if you have somebody who's close to you, whether it's your grandparents or somebody that passes away, right? It hurts, right? Because it's pain. But if there are, probably millions of people die every day,
hmm
and you don't know, you slept like a baby. But
right.
I'm
That's true.
saying is,
Yeah,
it's a beaver stem activity for us. And from my perspective, is that something that I don't think you're gonna have to do anything in terms of like the people that are given to you, like your kids, right?
right,
But there are certain people that you can choose, right? You can choose your wife, you can choose your friends, you can choose who you do yomo with, right?
right,
And that, to me, in a way, it's a lesson for us, by based on what I know about this particular reflection, in terms of when you in a certain circles, you are basically as happy as the least happy person in there, because they basically
Sure.
drag it. You're gonna average
Right.
out. You're gonna average out
Right.
that, because if you don't belong to the circle, then it doesn't matter. But if you belong in a circle, then you have to share the pain, the memory. So when you
Yep.
create this circle, like you and I get together, we create this circles of you company, right? So when we hear about Amelia, we share some of the pain that you're feeling. We don't share much as much as you do, but we still share it because there is a connection. We care, and the people who never met you, don't know you, they don't even know the difference. But my point is, there is a freedom to choose. Meaning to me, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. If that makes sense.
So you can't change the people around
You
you.
can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And so to
Unless
me,
unless they're your kids, you cannot change that. I mean, like
right,
that's
I'm saying it's besides the people that was given to you,
right.
right?
Right.
You can choose the people that surrounds you. Like
Right.
you and me, like if you and I don't have any kind of an alignment, then we shouldn't have to force ourselves to go and
Yeah.
talk about things we don't care about.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
because like if you're the kind of guy that it's miserable all the time, and if I stick with you, I'll be miserable too.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this is why people say
100%. Yeah.
misery
Yeah.
loves company, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the person that's the shitty person in the room, like that is the mood, when you're in a group setting and somebody walks in and they're like, fuck this, and they're bad mouthing or whatever, and they're, that I do feel like that person has an outlying influence on the broader group,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying your kids are like that, but I'm just saying, like, in general, but they are kind of like that, right? Like if you're, you know, okay, I'll give you an example just from the past couple of weeks. Luca had pink eye and got sick, just like a weekend over the past week and a half, right? And my wife and I about fucking killed each other. We're figuring out trying to how to do everything else in life and trying to, you know, manage him, and he's not happy and not feeling good, and
No one's
like
happy.
no one's happy. Like,
If
it
your
is
wife's
very,
not happy, no one's happy.
well, it's not that my wife's not. My wife, it's my son. If my son or my daughter isn't happy, then my wife isn't happy. Then I'm not happy. Then we're no one of us are happy. Like it's just a
No one's
sick.
happy.
No one's happy, right? I mean, it's a yeah. It is just so. It's such a connected life, I guess. To the people around you, uh, make a massive influence on.
So this is what I'm saying is there are people that you cannot change, right? The people that are given to you, like your sons and your daughter,
Hmm.
you can't choose them, but you can choose your wife, you can choose your co-workers, you can choose your
Yeah.
friends, right? So to me, this is the important lesson that I want to bring out, is knowing how we behave as a human species. We understand that we have limited choices, but but when we do have limited choices, we need to be, I guess, very cautious of the choice we make. So if somebody comes to you and say, "Hey, Chris, can I be your friend?" Right? And say, "Well, what would you say if somebody comes to you, hey, Chris, I like you, can we be friends?" What would you say?
Sure.
Exactly.
Maybe.
This is what
Yeah.
people. That's what people do, and they
Yeah.
go say, "Hey, blah blah blah." But some of these things, like, you may like him or her, your friends, i.e., acquaintance and friends, whatever, for a certain character, for certain character traits, but not all the character traits.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, you take in, I guess, you kind of like take in the whole person as a whole, but what I'm saying is that person, because of the other character trait that you may not align with, it may brings you misery if you don't choose carefully. And so
Oh,
it's
100%.
super important to understand your choices you have to make that brings you happiness. So when you say after all, you are only as happy as the least happy child, right? That's something you're given. You can't change that. But in a group setting, like, hey, you are as happy as the the most miserable person in the room, right? Get out the room.
Sure.
Get out the
That's
room.
a
If your
very good
friends
point.
are like bitching all the time, right? Stop talking to them. If your
Right.
friends are completely like neurotic and that's not who you want to be, then stop being friends with them. Uh,
Uh, like I know you're saying it isn't like this is so obvious, and it is, but at the same
but
time,
it isn't.
it's
But it
not.
isn't
Right.
because
I mean,
I
like,
asked you already. Hey, if somebody comes to you and say, hey, I want to be friend. Okay, yeah, because
I'll
you
try it. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
and then you don't like that person, but I still want to be friends. And hey, I give you a chance. I want to be friends.
Right.
And you give more time, more time, more time, more time, and eventually, hey, I like that guy, but I don't really like that guy.
Yeah, no, it's isn't the saying you are the sum of the five people you spend the most time with or something like
Mhm.
that,
Yes,
and I actually I really do believe that at this point in
because the
time.
thing is, you imagine, right? Let's say you
Yeah.
you you hang out with people who lies all the time. You're gonna
Mhm.
still lying. If you hang out with people who have integrity, like you're gonna have integrity, just
Yeah.
because you align with them. But you let people influence you in a way, then because because your core values are not like lying, it actually eats at you when you're in that group. Even though you say, hey, I like playing with this guy. I like tennis, and he like tennis, and blah blah blah. We have some commonality, but he doesn't have he's not accountable, for example,
Right, right.
or he is always late, or he's not punctual, or whatever. And so that will rub off on you. And whenever you belong to that kind of group setting, yes, you do have commonalities, and
Mhm.
there's sometimes like it's fun, but sometimes it's like, I mean, you
That's
kind of
enough.
like,
I gotta cut that off and go, yeah, yeah, I
because
agree.
it is not your core value, you will create misery for yourself by
Yeah.
because it's conflicting with who you are as a person,
Mhm.
even though you kind of accepts it without say, hey, yeah, it's only I'll I just basically kind of like endure his whatever for a little bit, right? And so
Right.
that's what people do, and I
What
think that's a mistake.
you want to hear something wild, even from just tonight, right? So I told you I was one of my best friends that I've known since I don't even know. I think we were probably like 6 years old when I met,
Hmm.
or some when we originally met. Like I think we were in kindergarten or first grade or something like that. And I haven't seen him. He has a 1-year-old son, just turned one like a month ago, and he's obviously very busy these days. I'm very busy all the time. I really haven't seen him since. It's probably been at least 4 or 5 months since I've like hung out with him or like done anything, just even like been in his presence, beyond
Hmm.
like just text message threads or whatever that we're always on and stuff. Like I don't know if you've noticed this, but in the past 30 minutes we've been on here, this is now it was up to like 31 before, and I clicked on it like push pause just so I get it off of there, and now it's back up to 9 again. Like I don't even know. I have no fucking idea what these yahoos are talking. Look, what the fuck is happening? This has been in the past like 25 like anyway. I have no idea what's going on there. So, but my what I'm getting at is uh we were catching up, and obviously my friend Kevin knows about the pickleball club that I'm starting. He was like, hey, but we haven't really had a chance to like talk about it like in depth, and he was like, tell me all about it. It's like, I'm really excited to want to hear, and I've actually told you about Kevin before. I know Kevin is like one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet in your life, but he's very much so like a even he'll even describe himself. He describes himself as this, it's like kind of like a chameleon. Whenever he's whoever he's around and what they care about, like that's kind of what he adopts, is what he cares about
Hmm.
in that moment. And that is his Beaver Mustang activity. He makes people feel comfortable about what matters to them most. But like, as he even told me tonight, he goes like, one of the things that sucks is that leaves me with, I don't know what I really love. I just love what everybody else really loves. Like, and it's tough for him, right? So we were hanging out, and I was like, hey, I just FYI, I got to get back by 8:30, because I have a call I got to get back to. And we'd been hanging out for a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours or whatever. And he was like,
Hmm.
what do you have to do at 8:30? I have some like call for like the pickleball stuff. And I was like, no, this is my conversation. I was like, I haven't told you about this. And he goes, no, I don't think I've ever told you about this. I go, well, it's kind of a long story, but I meet this guy every single night, and I have for almost the past 4 years since Amelia passed away. And he was like, what are you talking about? I go, yeah, well, I mean, I don't. So I had to go explain to him this whole entire scenario, right? And he was like, that's fucking wild, Chris. And he goes, I want to watch these videos. Like, he was like, I would love to. He's like, I know that we don't have as much time to spend together, but he was like, I want to hear Chris's insights and wisdoms, and listen to this stuff, and to hear what your friend True has to say as well, and the conversations. He was like, what, like, he's because I was kind of shying away from being like, don't go to like watch any of the things that we posted or anything like that online,
Hmm.
because I don't really. I was like, I don't really, we don't care if anybody's getting value. He's like, but Chris, he's like, I want to hear, you're like one of my best friends, and I like the stuff that you have to say. I want to hear these things. And it was funny to me, because it was a reminder of how much time that I spend with you,
Hmm.
versus even some of the people that I've been, so close with over my entire life, that I haven't seen them. And like, talk about, like, you are, the five people you spend the most amount of time with, kind of thing, reflection. I'm proud to say that you and I are doing this stuff every single night, because I do actually appreciate what I learned from you, and what I gained from you in this conversations. And like, it does make me feel like it's aligning to who I want to be and where I want to go with my life. And all those things matter, right?
Hmm.
And when it
Hmm.
comes to, like, your children, like, I mean, like, you just can't move forward. Like, if they're not, you can't do anything else. Like, it's like the world stops if they're not happy, like. And I don't know if it's always going to be like this. I have a feeling that it is. I have a feel. I wonder what my parents think if I'm not happy, like, does it same thing still happen when they're grown, and when you're, I don't fucking know. But like, it's just such a wild experience to think about. Do you even remember what life was like before you had kids at this point in time?
In what way? I mean, yeah. I
Just
mean,
in
I
general,
I
like,
I do. I mean, I was a terrible kid.
right? Like, I mean, the amount of the amount
I
of
told you I was a black sheep, right? I
right.
always get into trouble, and I would do stupid shit
Same
normal
here.
kids don't do, right? And like, I mean, my when I came here when I was like 10 years old, right? My parents, like, they don't speak English. They have to go work, and it was very hard for them to get a job, and they do labor work. I go stay at home. I get into fights at school many times, and parents got caught, and I broke my arm doing stupid shit, and people have to say, "Hey, call mom to get
Right.
to
It's
to kind of like
intense.
to good to excuse herself from work, which is very difficult because she doesn't know how to speak English, and the job was hard to get, and because because you don't speak English and you're so
Right.
tiny, who's gonna hire you? So you were so lucky to get the job, and now you have to go get your fucking kid from hospital because he broke his fucking arms, both of them.
I mean,
I
can you
mean,
can you
could
imagine if
you
you're on the other side of the
imagine that?
coin? Yeah.
It's
Right.
like, but the thing is, to me, that's a parent. Right? When your kid, even though he's as stupid as me, right, do all this stupid shit and broke his arm for his own damn fault, you still got to, bite your tongue, go ask the boss and figure out how to communicate to the boss that you need to leave to go get yourself a hospital. I mean, it's
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 intense.
just
I mean,
one of those things where, yeah, your kids are really going to determine how happy you are,
I I
and
I I
and
mean,
so
I agree.
and so there is not much time for you to hang around with people you're not compatible with.
Right.
This is my take on life. It's like, take care of the people that's important to you, right, and be there when they need you. But that's what, to me, my philosophy anyway. And this is the kind of person I am, and I like it that way. I don't have a lot of friends. right? But the
Right.
friends, like if you call me and you need something done, you need me, I will be there. I will
Right.
figure it out if you're in jail or you're getting decapitated, right? You call me at one
Amen.
phone
Yeah,
call.
right,
You
right,
call me, right? I'll figure out where to get you out. That's why I don't have a lot of people, but if you are in that circle, right?
right. Take care
You
of them.
you
Yeah.
you have that you have that benefit.
Right.
But at the same time, you need to earn it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
so for
agreed.
me
Yeah.
is I don't talk to a lot of people because look, I'm not compatible with you. I mean, there are 7 billion people on Earth. Why am I spending my
Right.
precious time talking to you or doing things or telling you stories that you don't care about and listening to your story that I don't care about, right?
Yeah.
I don't care about this or that, the other. I care about what I care about. And if you have some alignment, we spend time together. Because you and I get together every night. And you imagine every time you come to this the Yomo and you ask True, hey, how's it going? And I say awful stuff. I say, hey, my day is terrible, blah blah. I
I,
mean, you're gonna have a terrible. I mean, just
I
by
can't do it. Yeah.
I mean by the sheer like kind of like the sharing of experiences. I tell
Right.
you all about the shit I have to go through. You're gonna feel just as shitty as I am, and
Yeah.
right. And you think about it. If I do that every single day, your life seems shitty too.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, like it
But
half the damn time,
yeah, but
like
if I come in as this Mexican fisherman and you say, well,
no,
it
it's
doesn't
calming.
matter. And then so whatever you
It's
do with whatever stress you
really
have, you
calming.
come to me, ask you, hey, how's it going? And then I do this, I do that. I say, does it matter? It doesn't matter. So you kind of lighten up a little bit.
This is the exact reason why these conversations with you for me is so valuable because like I can easily get sucked into whatever the fuck is going on in my life, or something like that, and this is a way for me to get a sanity check on it of like, oh, it's okay, like, it's fine, like just focus on the day, like,
We will
we
go
have a
back.
good
We go back
conversation,
to
we go back
the
to
core
focus on the
values of
values. Yeah,
company,
right. Yeah,
right?
right, exactly. I mean, it's almost just like a daily reminder to like, it's fine. You're
This is
deviating.
exactly what.
You keep it back on track. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine you because you are like 100% focused on this the pickleball club, right? All you do is focus on that. But at the same time, when you talk to me, you say, well, that's what I'm working on, but that's not what I'm aiming. That's not what I'm
No.
aiming for. This is what I'm talking about. The Mexican that
Right.
you bring up the Mexican fisherman yesterday when we're talking about. I
Right.
say, hey, I'm doing all this. I'm thinking about moving. Open another club in San
I'm
Antonio
not.
and
I'm
blah
not.
blah
I'm not. I
blah blah
wasn't. I
blah.
was not thinking that.
But then you
I
come
said I
back and say,
asked you about
well,
it.
this is the Mexican fisherman
Right. It is.
story
It
all
is.
over again, right? And you
It
say,
is. Yeah.
well, I'm gonna step back because that's not what's important, right? So you
Agreed.
understood that when you talk. If not, you start man, you could start going down this rabbit hole where you could open a bunch of different spots, and then suddenly
Right.
like you think about it. Shit, I spent like my 10 years doing all these things, and I didn't
I just wanted to be
realize
down the
that.
street and play pickleball. So I just wanted to be a place down the street to go play pickleball and have a good time and be around people I wanted to be around. Like that's what this was all about, and it will always be. It will always be about. Like to ironically, I was talking to Kajol today. We were having a conversation, and it went really well because it went exactly the way that you and I had talked about,
Mhm.
what I was going to say, and yeah, it turns out she's 100% in alignment with what we talked about too, like, which is great, right? And one of the before we got to that point in time in the conversation, I was like, look, I've asked you a lot about your life, and rightfully so, because that was really my focus of getting to know her more, and I was I don't know if I wanted to say intentionally not sharing a lot about my life, but like there's there's a lot to unpack, like, in the past 4 years that it takes a long time for me to try to describe this to somebody, and I don't know that I want to invest my time into trying to describe it to somebody else unless I know that they are worthy of my time to invest in it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So the so I started off before I said, hey, where my brain's at and where we're going with this. I was like, you know floor is open for you. Ask me whatever you want to ask me, right? So she started to ask me similar questions, actually, what I'd been asking her, which rightfully so, she should have. And
Mhm.
so ended up describing her, all we got really deep into it of like how this all came about, right? You know, how we're even talking about where we're talking about today, and just different philosophies on Beaver Must activities, and you know all this other stuff, and long story short, like you know, it came to the point in time where it was like like oh, I forget where we even, God, I just lost my train of thought of where we're even going with this, um or where I was going with this. The with I think it was about, with Kaijo in particular, about sharing more about my life with her. It was one of those things where I was like I I'm okay. I think I'm okay with it at this point in time, to kind of let you in a little bit further into this whole entire, you know, mess, but still trying to keep her at a distance, going like, I don't know that you really fully want to get into this, you know, like this isn't the world that I think that you would be connecting with. Like, I think we can connect in our own way, in our own path, in our own uncommon commonalities, but like, as somebody that's like a five people that I want to be around, and probably even that she wants to be around with me, like, you know, necessarily, I don't think that that's the relationship that we're ever going to have, you know. And I think we're both okay with that, actually. Like, that was the good news out of that conversation. But anyway, I forget exactly what the point of where I was going with this, but it was an interesting conversation to know, like, it is really hard to, like, you know, open up to really open up the door and be like, okay, do you really want to fucking know this stuff? Do you really want to get into this? Like, do you really want to, you know, like, learn who these other people are in this life? And most time, the answer is no. I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, most people I meet, I'm like, I don't want to do this, man. Like, I don't, I'm not, you don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Can we just
Right. That's
not
why you
talk?
have to be
Yeah, yeah,
honest with yourself
right.
first. Meaning, say, is this really what I wanted, or is it because I can tolerate something from
Right,
somebody, and
right.
and wasting that time? Because
Such a waste.
if you tolerate a circles, right, you are enduring the misery for what? I mean, it's not even important at that point, because you say, hey, I just endured the misery just because I
Right.
didn't decide to do anything. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that you can choose who to hang out with, and you can choose what kind of people that it will lift you up, or they creates that the little, like like kind of nagging on the inside, because you say, well,
Mhm.
I like that guy somewhat, but there's certain thing just irks me, right? If that's the case, then most people in what I've observed is that they tolerate these people, versus go say, hey, no, don't hang out, because you can go spend, because what you say yes to, you say no to everything else. Because if you and I have this 8:30 time slot, if you say yes to this time slot, you have to say no to everything else,
Exactly. I had to say no.
right?
I had to say no to hanging out with one of my best friends later on tonight. Like, you know, and I mean, well, if I was a younger warthog, y- right, do you know what I just said? I don't know if you just caught what I just said. I
You say work hard.
no, I said when I was a young warthog. I don't know if you.
You mean the Lion King?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't know if you just caught that. I say that all the time.
Timon, Timon,
Yeah,
Timon,
like,
Pumbaa.
yeah. No, when I was a young warthog, I would have easily, and you know, would have been like, fuck it, we're just gonna stay out until 2 in the morning and have a good time. You know, it's been a while since we caught up, and we're gonna have a wild night. You know, and like, it's just such a different existence in life. You know, when you're kind of focusing on your values. And oh, I
Well, I
remember
think it's
telling
when
you.
you don't know your values.
Right. Yeah, when you don't know, you just do what you do. You just go along with it, right? I mean, whatever's in front of you, you go along with. And like, um uh that was what I was getting at with Kaijo. She asked me, like, what do you see, where do you see this thing going in the next, 5 years or something like that? And I go,
Mhm.
I don't fucking know, Kaijo. I was like, I literally have no idea. You and I, of all people, should know that, like, we're not we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, let alone in 5 years from now. And she was like, "Oh, you're right." You know, and that was how I ended up into the whole describing my life, and our what we've gone through together,
Mhm.
Yomo, Amelia, all the other stuff, focus on your values, whatever. And I try to explain all this stuff. And she was appreciated. I appreciate her being receptive to that, because I was happy to share that with her. But to your point, it's like, it's just so much of, you have to say no to everything else if you're going to say yes to this, right? And like, and and I want to say yes to this stuff, right? Like this is important to me. Like I would rather only have 2 drinks while I'm at a bar that I haven't been at a bar. I can't remember the last time I was at a fucking bar. And I'm not saying like that's some badge of honor. I literally cannot remember the last time that I was at a bar. And
Mhm.
at this point, I don't know. I mean, I could not tell you. I mean, I, I fucking don't know. I mean, this is kind of blowing my mind. Like, I cannot. I mean, I've been at a restaurant, had a drink, but I can't remember the last time I went to a bar to just go have a drink with a friend or something like that. I think it was October, maybe of no September, I think of last year. It was what this probably been 6 months since and that was the
Mhm.
only time I can even think of in the past year before that.
Mhm.
And that was a weird occurrence that night. I don't know. It's just this doesn't happen. Like I mean, yeah,
Right, man. And that's what I'm saying is, if you sit down and you write all the things you want to do, right? I guarantee you, there's not enough time in your life to do all of them.
mm,
Okay, and so that means you're gonna have to say, well, pick the one that you want to do first. That's most important to you. Do that first, and if you have others left over, then you can do some more of whatever else. But I'm saying is, if you are not spending the time with the circles of influence that you would like to feel the most, then you are saying, if you say yes to the thing that's it's so I can tolerate the circles, then you're saying no to the real circles that you want to be
right.
in. I mean,
Yep.
it doesn't matter what it is, because when people comes to me, right? If they're not, if they are not aligning with me, they look at me as a boring guy. Because if you ask me, hey, how's it going? It's good, right? What anything new? Nothing,
No.
right? And so the thing is, when
I
you
got to
are
think
a
of a new
guy,
question to ask you.
but my point is, when you are not aligning with that kind of character traits, it's an off-putting for you.
Right.
You think I don't do anything. You think that I'm not adventurous. I don't do. I'm in much of anything. I'm the
Right.
most boring person. But if you are kind of people that seek peace and quiet, then you're gonna like what I mean. It's like you
Yeah.
think about, hey,
Consistent as hell, man.
yeah, well, how's it going? Oh, I get bashed today by this guy, and then some person step on me, and some other person stab me in the back, blah blah blah. I
Right.
had into a fight with this guy. Well, that's a lot of activity. That's exciting. But
Yeah.
is that what you want?
No.
For me, is I don't want to have to get into a confrontations with anyone. I don't want to have to, you know, defend myself in a knife
Yep.
fight or a shootout, or whatever. Right? I don't want any of that. So to
Right.
me, exciting to you, it means what? Right? And to me, this is what I'm talking about. Is when if I go out there and I basically try to make this life exciting, right? Then I would endure the heart pumping, the adrenaline rush, and all that. And that's not me. So in that
Right.
kind of circle, in that kind of environment, right? I'm always anxious. I'm have anxiety. I go home, I'm stressed out,
Yep. Uh, yeah. I
right?
mean, you don't want that.
Or because that's not who I am.
Right.
In that circle, I'm out of my element.
Right.
And so when you're out of element, you are creating misery for yourself. That's what I'm saying is you gotta choose, but choose the right one that makes you feel like this is where you want to be,
What?
because that is such an important decision that people give up that choice. Because somebody comes to you and say, "Hey, Chris, let's go to a party." What do you say?
When I
You
was
got nothing
younger,
to do,
when I
nothing
was
to do.
younger, I would have said, let me get done what I have to get
But
done first, and then I'll go.
but then the thing is, there are things you are better suited for, i.e., go play tennis, go play pickleball, go. You
when
see
I
that?
was younger,
But
when I was younger, I would have done that. I would have gone to the library, studied, and then I was like, then I'll meet you guys out. Like even if they all started at 10 p.m. and I needed to meet them up at 1 a.m. or whatever, I'd be like, okay, I'll go get done whatever I get done, but then I'll still go out and do this, and I'll suffer the consequences in the
but
future.
that's the problem is when you suffer the consequences, it takes away the
The
time
takes the
from your
next day. Yeah,
pickleball
right, right.
playing, your tennis
Yeah,
playing,
right.
anything,
Yeah.
taking care of Luca, whatever is important to you.
Oh yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
has to be a no. But that's what I'm saying. It is like you just mentioned before. It's obvious. It's very obvious what I'm saying. But
It's
people
very
can't do
obvious.
them because when they say, hey, let's go to the mall. Let's go check out this movie. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. You don't really want to, but it doesn't hurt. Say, hey, what, just go, just have a drink and go,
Right.
watch a movie. You don't really like that kind of movie, but it's okay. Rom-com or whatever. You may
You're
not
just
like
doing
it,
shit
but
to fill time. You're it's
exactly.
not there's nothing purposeful about it. And yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, it's it it it's why like it, it it's why everything happens every single day, because once again, I'm only as happy as my least happy child, right? Like, I mean, if I don't do this stuff, if I look, I could have stayed out with one of my friends tonight until skipped this. We could have just drank until 2 a.m. in the morning or whatever. I would have woken up hungover the next day, and I could have been like, oh well, I'm pretty kind of hungover, like I don't think I need to. I don't want to wake up and write today. I don't want to really, I don't really have any energy to go on a run or whatever, do whatever I got to do. Like, then my
Then
least happy
Lucas
child
suffer,
is
your
Amelia.
Amelia suffer,
Right,
your
right, right.
wife
Yeah,
suffer, and then
right,
she's
right,
gonna
right.
get mad. Lucas gonna have like, hey,
And it's
I
not
mean,
worth it.
I don't know what's gonna happen to him. He may say, hey, I decide to go and mess up all your computers or whatever, and
Right.
then creates more chaos and chaos, more chaos. It's just a
Yep.
compound effect out of control.
It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I mean, so like it's you're only as happy as you're in this scenario, your least happy child. And like to be fair, maybe one of the key takeaways then, as I kind of wrap this thing up with before before having children, I didn't ever have to think about who I was making unhappy, besides maybe my wife or significant other, or somebody I was in a relationship with. I mean, I didn't think about my parents' happiness when I was doing something. I mean, like, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think you did either. I don't think most kids think about their parents' happiness with their actions in life. I don't think they think about their siblings' happiness. I don't
No,
think they think about,
I
yeah,
only think about my happiness and
right,
what they're doing to prevent me
right,
from having my happiness.
right, exactly. That's exactly what I was getting at. Is like,
But then
it,
when you get hurt, you call mommy.
exactly.
I
And
mean,
then
you see
she's
this bunch of
unhappy.
like
Right,
buff bodybuilders and buff like really tough guys like all
right.
along there and blah blah blah. And then mom get hurt, mommy. It's like
Exactly.
mommy, I want my mommy. It's like
Of
you're a
course.
grown ass 40-year-old woman, man, and when you call mommy.
I mean, of course, because you're only as happy as your least happy child, right? As and the parents always going to do whatever they got to do. But I think summing up my thoughts on this one, be, if you don't have children, then there's nobody you're really accountable to, other than
You are
yourself.
accountable to yourself because the thing is you
But
are also making yourself
but
unhappy
but if you
without
don't
knowing it.
know, but if you haven't figured that out yet at that point in time before you have kids, then you're just kind of aimlessly wandering through life, and that's even worse. Like it's at least having your kids holding you accountable to, you know, a baseline of like, well, okay, I can't do this because this isn't gonna make them happy, right? Like, I mean, I can't like, if I'm even with Luca or Amelia, even either one of them, if I can't parent the next day because I'm out drinking with my friends all night long or doing something dumb,
I mean, this is the reason why you don't give Luca liquor, right?
right,
Because that's doing something dumb, right?
right.
It's going to make him unhappy. It can make you unhappy because doing dumb
Do you
shit.
fucking see this, by the way?
Yes.
This is after I got rid of, what the fuck is happening? What in the fuck? What is this novel that's happened? This has been since what? This is right before you and I had jumped on a call. What 8:29. This has been in the past hour. I don't know what the fuck is happening. And then all these other things are uh all right. Anyway, I don't even want to know. I'm not going to try to
You're
even.
talking
I
about
don't even know that I have
distraction.
time to unpack that.
It's like
Then
you go to meetings and look at all the messages I have, look at all the emails I have, there's all the phone calls I have, there's all the meetings I have, and I
I,
say, that's not about your honor. I feel sorry for you, Chris.
I don't even know how to unpack that and start to unpack
You
this.
go,
Like,
yeah, that's true. Hey, how many meetings you have? None. How many emails you got? No one called me. So, so it's perspectives.
right. This is stupid. All right. Anyway, all right. Question we can leave for everybody is any final thoughts for you?
Choose your circle when you can.
Agreed. And choose your circle based off of what's important to you in the first place, anyway, and that'll that is how your circle forms anyway. But it is kind of a circle.
But you
Both
have
of
to
them.
understand to say no, because the point I'm trying to make is that it's obvious when I say it, but people can't, they don't know they're doing it because it's a nudge in one direction. Like I ask you, hey, let's be friends. Okay. Can I have 5 minutes of your time? Okay. Let's go.
That's true.
Let's go to a movie. Okay. Right. This is what people do is
Right.
they basically they get like nudged just a little bit, so they don't notice that they are wasting their precious time saying yes to the okay to the yeah, I have to do this, right? This is my
Right.
important thing I have to do. Because you're saying yes to the okay, you have to say no to everything else. And that's something that it's silently stealing your time away from the core values, the Beaver STEM activities.
Yep. I agree. I mean,
It's a silent thief.
it 100% is, and yeah, it's easy to know if you know who you want to be and where you want to go, and it's really
And the same
hard.
thing with
It's
social
impossible
media.
almost. Yeah. It's all, oh my God. Speaking of that, don't even get me started on that. I re-downloaded LinkedIn and Facebook
You have to.
because I had to with like I had
Right.
job postings on there and it kept and they fuck these motherfuckers like won't even let you go onto the online browser. They're like, you have to open this up in the app for like LinkedIn for like job applications and stuff. And so I had what's been happening? I've been on Facebook Reels for the past like 2 weeks now, and every goddamn time somehow my mind magically goes to Facebook and LinkedIn and whatever, and I'm like, you know, what? I'm like, what happened? I don't want to be on this. I don't know how. It's like it's just like magically happening, and
It's
I'm
a
like,
time thief, man.
I just want to get rid of them, but I don't want to have to re-download them every goddamn time that I need to check something for actual functionality of it that I need to check it for, you know? Anyway, all right, enough of that. All right, question we can leave with everybody is what can you do to play a meaningful role in someone you love's happiness, even though if you aren't physically with them? I think that was the question I was grappling with this particular one, but in general, I think you could be the people that are the least happy people
I
around you.
think I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
That's actually that's the 100% the right answer. The day that I deviate from that is the day that I know that I'm not doing what I
Yeah,
promised I would do.
don't be not Chris. If you say, hey,
Yep.
Chris is a father living for two, you gotta be that Chris.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
You say, hey,
Yep.
Chris is a father of two. That means you are father to Amelia and Luca. So Luca and Amelia is important to you. So you have to be that role. Because say, oh,
Exactly.
I'll be this jingle guy. Oh, I'll be this entrepreneur guy. Or I'll be this, whatever guy that is not you.
Right.
And that's where you stray away. And because you stray away from who you are, it actually creates misery for the people that are around you. You create misery for your wife, your Amelia. She's gonna be sad because you're not doing
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
promised you did. And then Luca's gonna say, hey, where's daddy? He's drinking all the time. He's like somewhere else, and Luca say, yeah, where's daddy? Right? You think about it. If you're not being you, you're actually not making people around you happy.
Agreed.
Because they are attracted to you because it's you. They attracted to you in the first place. Now you're not.
Right. I agree. I don't think you could say it even better than that. Honestly, like that's a great summary. Well, beautiful. Thank you for sharing and thanks for joining. And we are five more. And we are done with the original marathon. Then we go into the ultra marathon, but that's neither here nor there for everybody right now.
What's an ultra marathon?
That's
We're
when
not
it
doing
just
any
never
marathon.
that's when it never ends. It's the infinity marathon. But thanks for joining, and we will see you tomorrow night.
That's good. Good night.